so you want to be a tech director, I guess. I'm Eric Townsley, the newly appointed tech director at College Community Schools, which is Cedar Rapids Prairie now. Came into this position. I spent my last 3 years as a building administrator, actually, in the district. So in our district, this is more of an executive type position. I sit on the cabinet with the superintendent and the curriculum director and all of those things. The reason I'm in education is those two, my two kiddos. I was in 7th grade in Kaiser's and 8th. Anytime I do a presentation, I have to show off my kids. They're pretty special to me. And then I'll talk about my wife. My wife is probably the more famous one of us. If you do anything with Iowa Ed Chat, Andrea Townsley is my wife, and she helps facilitate Iowa Ed Chat on Twitter on Sunday nights. She's a school improvement consultant at Grantwood AEA. And I'm going to preface this with the guy next to me there in that picture is my brother Matt. I don't know if you know, maybe you know Matt. Matt was a curriculum director and technology person at Solon Community Schools. He's big in standards-based grading. And the reason I put that up there is because they're not married. Everybody asks if my wife and my brother are married because they're the famous Townsleys, as I like to call them. And they're not, but they're there. And yeah, so funny story about that picture. My brother is now a doctor. He's a ed leadership professor at UNI. That was on our 24-hour no-sleep trip for him to get his doctorate in Georgia. His doctorate was at the University of West Georgia, and his wife couldn't go because she was expecting, and so I went down with him, and our flight got delayed, and we slept in the airport in Dallas, but we didn't really sleep. We just transformed for him to get to his doctorate the next day. So I want to talk about my journey to being a tech director a little bit. How did I get there? I'm a graduate of Independence Mustangs in Independence, Iowa. Was very much involved in tech things there. Took every technology class I could. Went to Warburg College in Waverly. Majored in computer science and math education. And so then when I got done at Warburg, went to teach at Beck Community Schools in Van Horn. It's actually where I still live. And taught computer programming, intro to hardware, but also taught math classes there. And so I've always had that technology background in my path. Did go to UNI to get my master's in ed leadership. And so I went the instructional management route of the next step after being a teacher. From there, I've been a middle school principal for 5 years at South Tama County Schools in Tama, Toledo. And from then on, the last 4 years, I've been at Cedar Rapids Prairie, home of the Prairie Hawks. We have a big prairie sign on 380 as you're going between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. 3 years there as our intermediate building principal. And then last year, many of you know Craig Barnum was me before Craig left our district and went to Cedar Rapids. And our superintendent at the time was John Spear, and John recruited me to be in the position that I'm in now. So 3 months into the director of technology, actually 4 now, because we started July 1st, but and have had lots of learning along that path, and that's really what I want to talk about. Fortnite. Kids love Fortnite right now. We just got an Xbox finally in my house, and my kids those kids at the beginning are celebrating that they play Fortnite. What does Fortnite have to do with our job? Any ideas? It has nothing to do with their job. I'm just kidding. I told my kids I put Fortnite up there, so absolutely nothing to do with it. But who remembers one of these nights? Does anybody remember one of those nights? LAN parties, right? LAN party. Those were fun. Quake, yes. So that is actually wanting to tie that together. What is Fortnite now? Everything's wireless, so you can play with someone across the world. We just have to line up our LANs together and play Quake or Doom or whatever it was, whenever we could. So, what I really wanted to do today is just talk about what does a technology director do? I think there's so many different ways in which it can be identified, so many different job descriptions. Beforehand, a couple of us were sitting in the back just talking about there's different things we can do. So what I want to start with is, with a partner right around you, is talk about the role of the technology director. Maybe that's you, maybe it's somebody in your district. What does that person do for your district? So just talk about with someone around you.
What's your role? There was some oversight of paperwork. They also still have some server administration. Not a ton of direct access. And I will also. Here's the reason why. The reality is I coordinate it. I make certain decisions that I haven't built servers. I'm trying to support stuff here and there. Most of my role is staff supervision. And on the technology integration side, I still have a little bit more of a hands-on well, you're probably, whenever you feel like it's really consider the fact that you have a 1% or 15,000 users, do it all.
Enjoy. Sure.
I don't know where you're at. As we go, we've seen the doors out for people. So and we're actually hiring techs now, which the organization that they will learn and provide yeah, so instead of just being fixed people, there's also actively aware teacher, wants to know what is a good way to deal with this lesson. Won't necessarily be
we will make it.
oh yeah, just they don't necessarily understand that kind of.
This is what I was trying to tell my girls, but we don't have to.
We do expect that they'll be on there. Yeah. And they were at the same time.
Well, what do you do?
Hey, I'm going to stop you for just a second. We just found out any Infinite Campus users in the area. They're getting DDoS attacked.
As of 10:41 this morning.
10:41, I was just saying, I was up there that was about 3 weeks.
God, my teacher told me
Whenever that happened the first time, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was up there for a training on site in the mothership. Had some very interesting conversations with them. We haven't gone cloud-based, we host our own, so as well. I like that. Anyhow, so who likes printers? Does anybody like printers like I do? No, I hate printers. So, along with just learning about and talking, I want to learn from you guys. So, what do you guys? How do you manage printers? What's the best way to manage printers?
Not have very many of them.
Not well. Besides not having very many of them, what else?
Print server.
Yeah,
Print servers.
We use a cloud-based print server called Printer Cloud.
Printer cloud. That works well. For
we spun up a VM and have Uniflow.
Uniflow.
It's all managed. So secure printing at Google or whatever driver for whatever printer.
Does a district or the organization provide the printers, or do the buildings provide the printers?
For us, the district provides the printers. We don't let any building level printers happen. Same, doesn't matter if it's Carl Perkins or whatever the money is. Sometimes we have teachers that are, well, it's Carl Perkins, you can't tell me what to do with it. You can't tell me what to spend it on. I'll say, well, it's not going to be a printer, right? But
Just go and hook it up.
yeah,
Yeah, we do force all purchases through the tech department.
First everything today.
So that way we know it's coming.
It's a good way to do it.
Almost exclusively outside of 6 printers, we're all copy.
Copy. It's a good way to do it.
That's what we are.
We still allow our buildings to purchase printers, but they have to purchase them through an approved list. We will ultimately manage them, but they are responsible for all of the costs, including maintenance, replacement, consumables. So building principals can make the choice about whether they add printers. Building principals are also responsible for making the choice about whether they're going to impose print restrictions. So the ones who see that as a budgetary concern do, and then we'll implement those at their direction, and the ones who don't, just let printing happen.
Yeah, and we do the same thing, Adam. It's, we have an approved list that we'll recommend to the buildings. If a department wants to buy one, that's up to the building to manage that through their processes or whatever, or well. Who's one-to-one? Pretty much a lot of people. What device? Chromebook.
Air Max.
Air Max.
Chromebook.
We're a hybrid. So we're 5'12", 5'9", we are Chromebooks, and then 10, 12 or 11-inch MacBook Air. But guess what? It just happened. They don't make the 11-inch MacBook Air anymore. They just announced that in September. So we're going to have to do a change of what we're going to do. And we do iPads.
Yeah. Wow, we are. iPad.
iPads and Macs.
We have all the platforms.
Every platform.
Use Casper
For Macs.
for the iPads.
Good too. Document cameras. Do you guys do anything with document cameras?
Elementary.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
We deploy them in each room.
That's what we do too.
Deploy.
Talk to me about anybody done a new building or an addition recently with a new piece? How did you manage that? What did that look like?
For us, it was, we just did a new fine arts addition onto the high school. There's a lot of just meeting with, the contractors and the building administration and district administration meet and talking, specs about where we need drops and where we're going to have access points and all that stuff. And then a lot of, it wasn't budget that came out of tech, part of the project, so, did it right the first time.
I came in on the back end of that, so I'm in the middle of it right now, so we're doing a major addition to our high school. So I show up June 20th, and there's like $500,000 worth of APs, switches, just sitting there, and they're like, okay, go ahead. Thanks. That was good. But then reaping the cleanup of that, of when something isn't done right in the specs, and working with them on it, it's a challenge for sure. Who has Cat 2 money left? Anybody have Category 2 money left? A lot of money or a little bit of money?
We have a lot of money, but not at a lot of buildings. Basically, we've been trying to go through and spend through all of our Cat 2 money. I think after this year we'll be pretty close, but I mean, for us, we still have, I think it's, I don't know, close to $1 million available in Cat 2.
There are just so many interesting things walking into this position, like that I had no idea. Like I'd never even heard of E-rate before I really came into this position. Like, E-rate, no, hey, what's E-rate? It's interesting. It's interesting. Who manages your E-rate for you, or do you do it yourself?
We have a consultant.
You have a consultant. Yeah. Your director. Yeah.
How many people, just out of curiosity, manage E-rate yourself? Doing all that?
We just signed it, so.
Yeah, it was assigned to you.
Just got it.
Just got assigned, so you're about to get into
A
it.
week ago.
Oh,
Just got
nice.
signed it.
Nice. Yeah.
Tremendously worth it. I will say the E-rate process has become far more streamlined in the last few years in my mind. Used to be way worse.
That's what I've heard significantly, is that it was majorly difficult and really hard to manage, and that's why consultants came in. I can't tell you how many phone calls and emails I've gotten saying, because like the list has gone out, and we have like, I think we have like $500,000 sitting around, and I'm like, we haven't touched it at all. And every vendor wants to talk to me about it. I have a consultant, we can do free recommendations for you. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah. So what else? What else besides these things do we do? Talk to somebody different this time. So get up and talk. Visual teacher, and you gotta make them get up and talk. Or just sit around and talk to somebody else. But what else do you do? What else besides the device, the internet, is in that day-to-day process that you do?
There we go. How are you doing?
Good deal.
Great. All right. For us, based on how my role is structured, a big part of what I do is instruction. So overseeing both the IT operations of the district. Hey, how's it going? IT for the district, but also the instructional side. So I spend a lot of time dealing with technology integration, technology professional development. Spend a lot of time working with curricular decisions, which again is one of those things that's just based on how the district is set up for roles.
Yeah, I mean, just.
Yeah, so I do. I'm used to forecasting.
That's true.
We have everything planned out. This is my idea. We should have 4 or 5 years, which is hard to do. My general concept, if you have a scope,
It'd be hard to Right now, we're just
I mean, when you think about something like the question about printers, and that can become a major problem. You know, you can take it either way. You can do what we do. You can do the everything goes through the district approach. Either one's fine, but you have to have everyone on the same page. And being on the cabinet means that when something starts to become an issue, you can just get it taken care of right away.
You interact with the board, the parents often?
More than I want to.
You don't remember the
I don't interact with parents on a daily basis. I do a lot with our board, but that's mostly just because we have a kind of a really activist board. Yeah, but it can be. It kind of cuts both ways. Usually it's good. But I don't interact with parents much. When I was in Adele, I interacted with parents more. You know, now there are just more filters between me and them.
Usually it's the building principal, parent has concern, the principal. On the other side of the building, I'll board, I get board. Approaches go, and then I'm in. So it goes out and board.
I got a couple, I'm trying to decide if I send it, I got a,
Or the admin makes the plan,
they depended on the vendors on the model.
flying in, like most of them, the full day, the focus is on halfway range, they already model that one, right? Their teachers are fed up with PDD, stuff that's just new, that they can't have their hands on, you know? Makes sense. So it's just software that's already paying for. I can get sure that there's like, yeah, sure.
The only thing I hate about the app.
How do you find the administrative people on support? Do you have people on support?
The iPad thing's
Kind of put up, fence in your way, like a junk.
I have a decent amount of support. It's easier, I'll be honest. It's easier in a very large district. Because so again, I'll go back to like when I was at Adele, the superintendent's cabinet included all the building principals. And so it was all kind of level playing field. So if the elementary school principal wanted something particular, whatever. In Iowa City, we have 28 schools. None of the principals are on the superintendent's cabinet. So ultimately, my position, like if I make a decision or if I say something, principals aren't really a roadblock to that. I'm not saying I try to like railroad people, but at the same time, you know, it's a district level decision. They can give input, but they don't have decision making.
But you,
Similar, our principals
Yeah, so the director.
It's never questioned. Very rarely the actual question an initiative or
I haven't yet in my career, I haven't yet in my career to have a proposal that I've made, a budgetary proposal, not be approved.
Really?
Yeah. Now I know that it does happen, and so part of that is just that typically if I'm saying, hey, we should do this, there's a lot of reasoning to that, and I've done price comparisons and all those things. But, yeah, I've never actually had someone say to me. So we're actually transitioning right now. We use software unlimited, but it's not really sufficient. So we're transitioning Power School to Guard, which is an ERP system, includes finance, and so we're moving to that right now, which is going to be a huge transition. It's also bringing HR and payroll and so on. But because it's all Power School, it makes it really easy in terms of it's the same accounts. Once we get some payroll system, it's that same person, whether they're a parent or a teacher or whatever, they're a person. So, yeah.
so I have to go on.
Yeah. It's the same old thing. Every teacher has a high priority issue. Trying to, prioritize it. It's not a high priority for us.
I would actually echo the same thing. It's not any one thing, but it's more that people who A, are upset about something toward the beginning of the year, and B, often have not availed themselves of any of the actual avenues that they have. So I'll have a building principal who, I got one like 2 weeks ago, who sends me this email with like a long list of apps where Chromebooks don't work and blah, blah, blah. And then I pull up our ticket system, and I'm like, the building all year has submitted 19 tickets, and all of them are marked resolved. So, you know, and then the reality is, their Chromebooks are all of them do work, and the reality is that this other thing does work. And it's just, you know, I find it often it's more so with young principals who are new to the role, and often are, you know, hearing from staff like, well, we can't do this because X. And rather than verifying it, they just like, we're going to go to bat.
Yeah, I gotta throw it on.
And that's a little bit, I mean, you know, it's easy to diffuse, but we actually just switched to the worst name ticketing system in the world. We have been on School Day, and we pretty much hated that. Our facilities uses it, but I didn't like the technology. So we looked really close at Web Help Desk, which was actually my preference. SolarWinds, yep. That was my preference, but the rest of our IT leadership group wanted to go with a product called HappyFox, which is a Google integrated system. And actually, it's been pretty good. I give it credit, but it's a little bit of
So, I'll bring you back. This group I was just with had a little conversation of those thorn in the side. So, being I'm only 4 months in, prep me for what are the thorns in the side that are going to happen throughout the year? What are those times of the year that are the most difficult?
Roll out.
Roll out? Okay.
Take it.
And what?
Take it.
And take in? The most difficult, for sure. Yeah. You hate it.
the beginning of the year is always tough. I mean, the beginning, I think, it's always tough. We've really tried to move, and we're still not there. We have a ways to go, but we've tried to move to doing deployments during the year for staff devices or student devices wherever possible. And that's actually, and it seems like it'd be disruptive, but it ends up being a whole lot easier to support. You have everybody there. It's not people who are coming back and suddenly they're overwhelmed with new technology along with, you know, the million other things that they have going on. So we've tried to kind of mitigate that, but the beginning of the school year is still the toughest time for me.
I would echo that. That's a great idea. I mean, teachers at the beginning of the year, the last thing they want to deal with is learning some new device. They just don't. They want to get in their teacher mindset and just get into habit, right? And reliability. And so we have started that as well, not to probably Adam's extent, but new teacher tablets, right? We've gone away from the laptop style and went towards like a Lenovo or a mixed tablet. But we're not putting those on them in the first semester, right? So it's typically around Christmas time. We have a lot of teachers that want to stop in over Christmas break and you know, take care of that transition then. But
it's an interesting way to do it. I never really thought of that. You know, I think everybody traditionally, when device rollout is new school year, new device, this is when it's happening, and that's what you do. It's really an interesting way to do it. Just because it allows, I mean, like you said, it allows the fear of the start of the year to not be stuck in them. That makes sense.
Yeah, ultimately our goal is if something worked at the end of the previous year, it should be working at the start of the next year.
And a lot of times I'll do a lot of that during the year too. Have upgrade the devices. I don't even leave them with the old device for like a month because they don't want to. If it's new and it just gives them if something stops working in class, they just shut down on what they can do with the technology, and it does give them a chance to keep working. And as long as that way the kids still.
Along with that, kind of that replacement piece, do you cycle or is it one-time push for device? So like for us right now, our teachers are on a 4-year replacement cycle, so they have their device, but we rather than having big expense 1 year and nothing for other 3 years, we do a rotation. So That's what you guys do it too?
We do a 1 year, well, I'm sorry, we do a one-time push and then usually keep the devices out for 4 years. And we'll oftentimes lease them so that we can kind of have a consistent technology cost. You know, that way we know what's coming and we figure it's going to be within 10 to 15% the next 4 years when we renew that again. And it's been on a steady decline. And then if you do Hewlett Packard or someone like that, if you do a prepayment, get it paid off early, there's no penalty for that, but it still allows us to kind of define that and make sure that everybody has the same operating system, the same device and whatnot at the same time. That just helps us support it as well because we have such a big area and such a small staff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from the AEA perspective, I mean, you guys, I mean, there's so many staff that are there and all that thing, but I remember my old district, we leased iPads to do that, just to keep that thing consistent, but also keep them in that same rotation of, if it's the second gen Air or whatever it is, that's what we have and that's what we do. At college, we've just said we're providing you a MacBook Air for our staff, and that's just been our rotation, and we've done it that way. And then for our Chromebooks, you get a brand new one in 6th grade, and then that stays with you. And we actually, when we're talking about turn in and pick up, our 6th graders through 9th grade, we don't see the device again. It goes home over the summer. We don't need to touch it. It's a $200, $185 device. If they break it, there's a replacement schedule. But with that Mac piece, you really need to just to keep tabs on it. That's one of the things we really like about Chromebooks is that you keep it, have it be yours, and go. So, what other thorns are in the side of a technology director? Teachers, raise your hand. Teachers are a thorn in our side. Let's be honest. How so?
Usually non-willingness to learn something new, especially in technology. We can see that with our administrative staff, that we want to try and stay as current as we can on top of things and keep our agency ahead of the curve technology-wise. But the holdback isn't what we can get and what we can purchase, it's how we can implement it and who will actually use it versus who will sit there and not touch it or decide that they're going to continue to use something or move ahead with us.
Right. For us, it's our teachers are, I've never, at least in my 4 years here, never really pushed back hard on anything that we've done from the technology side. The thought of, we provide training, we provide, links, a website with links of every how-to in case you need to know, and then the tickets we get of the very simple things that the self-advocacy they might not have to actually figure something out themselves. So thinking a little bit more about what else, this group was talking about security. What does security look like in our role? Who do we need to be secure of or for, and what layers of that are there?
For us, it's protecting the networks more than the students because we don't have the students, but it's the protection of the network, the buildings, those sorts of things. Content filters that we're required to have for E-rate. Our security stems around ensuring we don't get a crypto locker or something of that nature. Keeping it secure that way. We, as they say, don't do student security. In fact, we've worked a little bit with Landon here for some students that we have in the school to take on the email accounts for them. So thank you for that. And we're not set up for the filters and things that schools would have in place for students with email and whatnot.
We've seen our role grow even in that student security and safety area when it comes to moving beyond content filtering. I think about for off-site content filtering is something that if you go back to the very earliest one-to-one programs, wasn't that common. People generally just gave laptops, and some districts still do. We use securely for off-site content filtering, and then along with content filtering, there's also a parent access and management component to that, and there's a basically cyberbullying and suicide prevention component to that. Obviously, I shouldn't be the person who's, ultimately looking at that and making the decision about what to do. We certainly have a role in terms of helping those guidance counselors or building administrators or whomever, helping them so they know what they have access to and how to get access to it. And as we're evaluating services like content filtering, that's another part of the equation that we also have to be looking at.
Yeah, we use securely as well, and well, it's got its little glitches every once in a while. I really find the value in, when we give a kid a Chromebook, it's totally filtered the whole time. You can't really work around that. The MacBooks, we have to kind of be a little creative where no Firefox, no Safari, you have to go in through Chrome. That's just the way it's got to be, and the kids get used to it. And there.
What about passwords? And you guys do two-factor authentication. And then when is it too early, or is it too early for a student to have an email address?
We give our kindergartners email addresses.
We do as well.
We give our preschoolers email addresses. Now, to be fair, they are not generally using them. They don't know that they have them. But they are there. We don't allow inbound or outbound email for students who are under grade 4, I believe.
Just local?
Yep. So in domain only. Password, we have a user policy that's very specific about not sharing passwords. Based on recent federal guidance, we no longer require intermittent password changes. But we do require two-factor authentication for any staff members who have elevated access. So that's a particular group of people, includes most of my staff, includes a lot of our business office staff, HR, payroll, things like that.
We haven't gone the double piece yet with our elevated piece. We've kept things pretty similar. I think we have the ability to do it if staff want to do it that way. We're really considering making all staff go to that. Just with everything that's going on now, we're really considering it. But
we just forced all staff into two-factor authentication, but we started off with our administrative staff. The only people that don't have it are people who don't have infinite campus access. So that pretty much limited to, I think, our bus drivers and certain food service staff and some B&G folks. But all staff, regardless of position, have two-factor authentication.
How was that received?
Most staff, starting with administration, they all understood when we explained to them why we're doing it, and it mostly because of emails that were getting filtered through and no one could catch. The biggest complaints I hear from are paras who hardly ever get on a device.
Yeah.
Like, I have to keep my phone with me. I don't have a phone. Why are we doing this? This is stupid. You hear it all, but for the most part, as long as administration was on board with it, everybody pretty much got on board.
is there any legal aspect? Because we don't provide phones to staff.
Right, that's
What I'm a little
folks that didn't
nervous
have
about.
it, we just told them that initial setup, at least through Google, we told them just to put in your building phone number. It's all you need is a phone number. So that initial 6-digit code, you just tell the secretary, hey, so-and-so's doing it, they're expecting a code, and then you can print out 10-digit one-use codes. As long as you get within, 2 or 3 left, just print out a new set or regenerate a set of codes. That way.
With us, we're doing that as well. We're going to start implementing it, but it's going to be a policy that if you're using a personal device to access agency resources, then we have the expectation that that device will be protected.
Yeah.
I just went through a Google audit with Amplified IT. Every 3 years, you're supposed to do an audit of your domain, and one of the things they pointed out was, super administrators, anyone that has administrative level credentials at this point obviously should have two-factor, but they're really pushing to have a certificate that would sit on the end user's devices, and it doesn't matter if it's your personal phone or not, that any district data that you would have on there at your termination point or at your suspension point could be retrieved and retracted off of that device. And Amplified IT seems to really be pushing this as part of saying that they feel like it's a possibility Google could, at a bare minimum, allow or ask that that certificate be installed for anyone that installs your school level domain account on your phone. A principal that has access to security camera system or credentials, that could be retracted back. So kind of an
Interesting perspective
Yeah.
on that, for sure. Turn the sleep off. Yeah.
You had asked about thorns in our side. Another one I would mention is user management, particularly for curricular software. Clever can only go so far, and we've seen over the last 2 years, really, year and a half, just an absolute explosion of digital curricular material use in the district, and trying to coordinate with our curriculum office and everybody else who's involved in selecting those resources and getting them provisioned has been a challenge. We're looking at some paid solutions right now that are really pricey, but that's been an issue because there's no logical person who would be in charge of managing that.
Yeah.
So.
And that's, in our district, that's fallen a lot on us, where we have to work through that piece. We don't have as much of the, that paid curricular, we have a curriculum mapping tool, Atlas Rubicon, that works with Active Directory and connects. But I think as we're going to travel on that path, and it's just figuring out workarounds is important to that. How do we get into instruction? Does your role get into instruction? What does that look like? I don't like. I'll speak for myself. I'm very involved in instruction. In our district, I'm probably half tech and half curriculum. What does that look like in your district? How does that play out in your role, or in your district role, or whatever? Talk again with your group.
I'll come over to you this time.
All right. So thanks for saving me the trip.
Yep. We already kind of talked about that. Ours is a joint department, so my role is on the teaching and learning directors group for the district, in addition to overseeing IT. And I guess the one place that it goes beyond even like the technology integration side for me, and you mentioned that you're involved with this too, is curricular decisions. Right now we're looking at developing new computer science pathways, K-8, and I've been, put in charge of that. So,
How about like the new computer science?
yep. So that's something where
Adjusting the state, and different things.
And we have a curriculum office. I mean, we have a director of curriculum instruction coordinators. What we don't have is a computer science coordinator. So that limits us a little bit.
We have a really good new director of curriculum. So he's just in my office nonstop anymore. And, at some point you're kind of like, you're dealing with a network issue and you're trying to troubleshoot, because I also do quite a bit on the networking side. Our techs aren't quite there. We don't, sorry.
Yeah.
But on campus we have. So a lot of times it's like, all right, we're going to sit down, let's think this out. Let's put all we got on the table here. And he's so just ready to throw everything out.
I talked to our social coordinator all the time, down in my office, either doing something Tableau or just trying to figure out, okay, my dad's testing. I'm not looking forward to this, that's why one of the sessions I'm seeing.
With the data science stuff, or the new we actually, so I went and I met with the Pearson people who are designing new tests. And I'm pretty confident.
That's what it is. That's really
I'm pretty confident they'll be able to deliver it. And they're doing much larger testing than what they'll be delivering in Iowa. So I think it's gonna go pretty soon. We're gonna do it. I mean, we'll do the full on, like, we're already doing a lot of online classes already. I think this one though, yeah.
I'll go ahead and bring it back. I guess I would hope that you would have something to do with instruction. I know we talked a little bit about, the computer science standards that are coming out. We also talked about, that relationship we have with the curricular side of things and how there is that give and take with things because thinking about the new state test. Are we going to use the new state test the way it's designed? Or are we going to, host it ourselves or proctor cash it? Or are we going to do paper pencil? Who's going to paper pencil the new test? Anybody?
We are.
You are. We're debating it. We're gonna. We're just
For a year, see how it goes.
For a year, how it goes, right? Debating on proctor caching it, but at the same time, there's a lot of just unknowns with if that's actually going to work. Today's actually the test day, the first test day, which is nice because it's state reporting day, and it's this, and it's the day you can test the ISASP or whatever it's called, and see if it's actually going to work.
That's another good one though, state reporting. How many folks in here are in charge of state reporting like myself? Yeah. So certified enrollment. I mean, another aspect that I'm taking this job, I would have no idea that I need to understand how to correct errors and a lot of it, I send it, we have an Infinite Campus gal, so she corrects a lot of the errors, works with the district or the buildings, but it still falls back to us to get those corrected.
I got certified after we're done here.
So do I. I got it on my agenda.
Yep. There's just a lot of stuff that's there, and a lot of stuff that is, it's not the stuff, but it falls on our plate. Being a building principal, walking into this role, you think this is the stuff you're going to spend time on, and you do spend some time on it, but it's not all the time. There's a lot of other stuff that gets in the way. Like in our district, I'm in charge of CTE. So why wouldn't I be in charge of car permits? Just there's different things in how and with any school system, things get pushed into different areas. My role looks different than Adam's, which is different yours. We're all different, but at the same time, our purpose is still the same. Getting this and then getting the kids. What we do is all about the kids, and you guys, it's still about those districts you serve and the students of the district you serve. For us, it's our kids. And every day we come to the job and we're like, I want you to have the best learning experiences you can. Some of our stuff is very managerial, but somebody's got to do it. And so I just want to thank you for today. It's about lunchtime. We can get out here just a few minutes early so you can get to lunch. But really appreciate the conversation. I feel like I learned something. I hope you learned something from someone around you too, and really appreciate it. So thank you guys.
So knowing what you know now,